I'm going to talk about not doing. Hopefully it will become more clear along the way what that means. Well, it can mean whatever you want it to mean, but we'll get a little closer to it. This metaphor there of the Zen archer is something that a lot of people recognize. Like when you do Zen archery, it's not just that you learn a lot of technique about how you fire the arrow and what you're going to do with all your muscles and what exactly you do. It's more about becoming one with the bow and the arrow and the target. And it's about doing it with as little effort as possible, to the point that you're not really doing anything. You just happen to have this bow in your hand, and maybe it just happens to leave the bow at the right moment, and it just happens to hit the target. So it's about taking the thinking, the mind, the effort, the doing out of it, and to do without doing it mentally, with effort, that it's hard, that it's work. So it's another way, it's another paradigm about how you think about doing things. It's about another relationship with yourself, with your body, with the universe, with the unconscious. And I should mention, I'm trying to do my speech part in about 20 minutes, and the other 20 minutes we'll have more of a dialogue thing. Now, has anybody here studied general semantics? Good. There's the idea of abstraction. It's abstracting as a verb. You abstract when you're making something more abstract, which essentially means there is a reality here. We live in some kind of quantum soup something. There's something that's actually here. What we do from there is an abstraction. Like, just for me to stand here and look at you, I have eyes that have some rods and stuff that are receiving light signals, and then my brain is sort of putting that together and turning it upside down and turning it into something with colors, and then I further have it sorted that I have seen other people before, so I know these are people, and their labels, their words on it. All of that is abstracting, and that's abstraction. We're getting further and further away from what's really here. And it's a little fuzzy what's really here. The world we think we live in is already abstracted several levels away, that there are physical objects, there are people, we use language, and we might abstract so far away that we lose the track of what was really here in the first place. We end up arguing about words and opinions and ideas about stuff without necessarily having to go back to, well, what's actually going on. And that goes to a great extent, bodies of knowledge, different subjects, belief systems. It's all abstracted from what's really there. And we're not even quite aware of how we do it, because a lot of this happens subconsciously. A lot of the things we do all the time, we don't really know how we do it. Like, how do I construct sentences when I'm speaking to you here? Am I doing that consciously? No, I chose the subject of this speech. I was reasonably confident that the words would come out of my mouth, but I don't really know how the hell that happens or where they come from. I trust that it happens. How do I breathe? I don't know. Where do ideas come from? You say that I got an idea, but where did I get that from? Did I construct it by thinking it? To some degree, I think to get it, but the idea just sort of comes from somewhere. Where's that? Where are your memories? How do you know when to take action? Is it thinking? Is it an intuition? Is it something you feel? I don't know. So that gets us to an even more tricky question, like, who the hell are you? Who is it who gets ideas? Who is it who takes action? Are you, like most of us think that, or act as if we're sort of this bag of skin, like this is me. It stops here at my skin, and in here I am here somehow. Am I in my brain? Am I a thing in my brain? Am I the whole body? It's not very clear. And if we actually look even a little more scientifically at what's going on, it gets even more fuzzy. Like it's a collection of billions of cells that happen to be working together. And it's not even the same cells. Some of them come and go. and is made of a whole bunch of atoms and stuff, and several kilos of other bacteria that just happen to go along, and you couldn't really survive without any of this stuff. And you couldn't really survive with just that, because the body needs nourishment, it needs air. So, I mean, I can't say that this is just me and separate it out from the rest of the universe. It wouldn't exist unless we were on this nice, warm planet that has the right temperature, and oxygen just happens to be in the right level so that I can function. So really, you're part of a system, and you can't really stop anywhere along the line and say, well, I stop here. You can say that, but that's just sort of a mental thing. You cannot really, logically speaking, stop somewhere and say, well, this piece, we can separate that out and say that's just me. Really, if you take it to its full extent, you cannot really stop the argument before you're pretty much the whole universe, because all of it sort of works together kind of thing. So we're not used to thinking of it like that, but well, that's kind of what you are. I mean, you're a system that comprises the whole universe. And the reason we're not used to thinking of it that way is because we abstract a hell of a lot. I mean, we've concluded that, well, there's me, I have a name, I say stuff, but there might be some point in being able to go back to it once in a while. David Bohm was a famous quantum physicist. One of his theories, which was relatively controversial at the time, was that underneath the explicit order of things, which is all the stuff we see, the separate elements, people, trees, planets, there's something that connects them all together, that really underneath it all, the universe is in one piece. It all sort of fits together. That was kind of crazy at the time. Now it's a lot more accepted. Now we've experimentally proven stuff like entanglement, which is an example of that two different particles, that even if they're far apart, they can sort of be connected. And that's not just because they send strange signals we haven't found, it's that they're somehow part of the same underlying thing. And therefore we could also say that since we humans we come out of the universe, we are also a clue to how the universe works, because we're something the universe has evolved. We're enfolded in the universe. But the trouble is, to a large degree, our minds, that because we abstract things, we think abstractly, we sometimes get in trouble. And because of our separateness, that we think we need to compete and win over everybody else, be smarter, protect our identity, that leads to a lot of the problems that we experience in the world. And to a large degree, it's mind, and it's sort of ironic that our minds are at the same time the most fantastic thing we have. We can think, communicate abstractly, we can do stuff that animals can't do. We can communicate, we can build technology, but at the same time, it's what trips us up. Because we think that the stuff, we abstractly think that it's somehow real. We forget that it's just sort of something we guessed or learned and put together along the way. And for that matter, most things that really excite us tend to be not from the mind. It's not something we think. It's something we experience, we discover. The joys of creativity, love, beauty. But there are ways of using one's mind more mindfully, which essentially means you pay attention. You're more in the present. You don't judge what happens. When you judge, you're categorizing things based on what you've learned and decided before. So being non-judgmental, you're dealing with what's there. You're accepting it in a certain way. That's mindfulness. And an important part of it is the unknown. I can't say a lot about the unknown because it's unknown. But I can say that most new things, all innovation, all creativity, all incredibly awesome, delightful surprises, they come from what's unknown right now. So it's maybe a good idea to have a better relationship with the unknown, because that's kind of where stuff comes from. It's not just blank. It's something. Things tend to happen that are sort of ready to happen in the universe. It's not just because I didn't think it and express it, it just doesn't exist. It exists in some kind of potential form. Sometimes stuff will emerge. So maybe we can plug more into that. What is it that wants to happen? If we word it like that, or that has a tendency to happen already, what's already moving? How can we help evolution happen? How can we help the universe evolve? And maybe that has things to do with how we feel, what we're passionate about. It's not necessarily the logical thinking, planning thing. It's more often what we feel inside. We're sort of plugged into something. And it can also be what do we see that nobody else sees? How can we bring that out? We're all following the rules and laws and principles of the universe, but we don't really pay much attention to what it is that makes us tick. We're dancing to some kind of music, but we might not really be hearing it, and maybe we could hear it more. So to get around to what I mean by not doing, well, it's to not do what you know how to do, which means we've learned to do things. We've practiced things, we've constructed subjects, we have degrees in things that we know how to do. A bus driver drives a bus. And all that is good. Buses need to be driven, but at the same time there's so much more that we haven't learned how to do. We don't know how to do it, so why should we stop with just the stuff that we've already learned and done before? So there's another space where it's a more direct experience of the world. You're here in the world, and it's not that you will do nothing, but you will act from a different place. It's maybe through the body more than the mind. It's not something you think, it's something you feel. Like most things that really need to be done, it's a feeling, it's a passion, it's something that you maybe can't explain. But the best things in life, you have a hard time putting words on them, but they're there. It's suspending your world construct. That means the way you've constructed that the world works and how other people work and how you do things. It's all good, that's useful, it's part of what humans do, that we can construct pictures of the world and share them, and that's useful. But it's also useful to be able to go beyond that, to suspend it, to actually just deal with what's here right now, to transcend the familiar, to act without belief. Might even be to act non-sensibly. Everything you do doesn't have to make sense or be towards some purpose or something that's important to do. Sometimes you'll discover something new by taking actions that don't fit with what you believe in. That's just surprising, different. So the question is, how do things get done if we're just doing that? Well, a lot of things are already happening. The universe is busy with doing what universes do. A lot of things are already in motion. So if we can learn to be a little more in sync with what it is that already wants to happen. There are stuff like natural laws, like gravity wants to pull things down. Sure, winds want to blow, water wants to flow. So don't argue with it. I mean, if you got a universe in front of you and there's a wave coming by, don't argue with where the wave is going. And it's obvious, that's surfing, like you either just go with what is there and you will have an easier time. Doesn't mean you have to only go along with it. You can construct new things, but if it goes against where things are already flowing, then it's a lot more work. There's the least work if it's just the wave happens to come by and you get up on your surfboard and just happens to go places where you want to go. And things are a lot easier if you live a life of congruence, which means that things sort of fit together at multiple levels. It means whether I agree with myself. The things I say, do I really feel the things? Do I believe what I'm saying? Do I agree with the universe? What I say, what I do, does that fit with what sort of flows? I cannot go surfing if there are no waves. At least it's difficult. I'm more in congruence with my surroundings if I happen to decide that I want to go surfing the moment that the wave comes by. So essentially it's harmony between different parts or different levels in a system. Now another thing that David Bohm, the quantum physicist, developed, he was also interested in human nature. He developed a system of dialogue, which essentially means that a group of people will just sit down and connect with what actually they want to say and what's there to be said. That you suspend what you normally do, looking good, having to impress other people, giving the whole speech you had prepared to give. That you're willing to just be quiet and actually notice what needs to be said. There are in principle no rules for doing that, but there are some simple guidelines. It's best done in a circle. If I think I've given up on organizing this space into a circle because the chairs are all stuck together, but ideally you should imagine yourself in a big circle in here. And the exercise is to look within yourself, feel within yourself, and be ready to describe what is there without assumptions, without judgment. Don't judge yourself or others. If somebody else says something, you can talk about that, but it's not answering a question. It's not showing that you're smarter than them because you have something else, something better to say about that. It's more about we exist in a space together and you talk about whatever needs to be said. So now the experiment is that we will do that the next 20 minutes or so. And if you need more of an illustration of it, it's a little bit what you would do in sort of archetypically in Native American Indians. There's something needs to be decided, something important, and you go and you sit down around the fire and you sit for half an hour without saying anything. And then one of the elders gets up and he says what needs to be said. And he sits down. And then we're quiet for another half hour and somebody else will get up and say something else that needs to be said. It doesn't have to take half an hour, but it's more that idea that what you say counts. You're not just trying to impress, you're not just bullshitting. So what I suggest that we do is that you can close your eyes for a moment. Take a moment to just notice that we're sitting here in the space together. Just notice how you feel inside. Allow your mind to quiet. And just pay attention to what's here. Use your perceptions of yourself and the space. And there's no set subject. The subject might appear by itself. It's just sort of what's here right now. So now whenever somebody's inspired to say something, put up your hand, and we hopefully have a microphone here somewhere. And it doesn't matter if it takes some time. There's nothing that has to be said.
It occurs to me that the abstract is no less real than the physical. It's patterns all the way down.
And if you don't know what else to say, you could also talk simply about your experience. It's not that you have to come up with something really clever to say. It's more like, what experience are you having right now? And it doesn't have to be good or bad.
One word comes to my mind. It's synchronicity by Jung, and the connection with what you're saying. I would love to hear your opinion on that.
I think the thing that's caught my interest is this notion of trying to have discourse in the context of no rules. I'm not sure that, in general, people realize how rule-bound we are. And the potential for, operating in some place where the principles are not rules is actually kind of exciting. But I'm not sure you can do this in a 20-minute exercise. Well, or even in 6 weeks at an exercise at a company or some group of people trying to change the world. I'm not sure. This is one of those 10-year phenomenon, I think.
Another word for rules might be conventions. What So just said there.
I think because we are free minds, we can choose which rules to obey and which ones we choose to ignore.
I think that the concept of choice that you mentioned, it's just very interesting to me because sometimes we don't realize all the choices that we have even exist.
I'm just feeling sort of guilty, actually, Ming, because a lot of what you said there was behind what I said this morning, but I didn't say it. And I kind of, I call my blog The Obvious, and I think I stand up and say what's obvious, and I don't always do it. And I assume it, and I assume that people think and know and whatever. So I'm feeling slightly guilty for not doing that. But the other thing was just a really, really strong sense of connection, that we've been following parallel paths, not always making enough effort to talk to each other, but that kind of doesn't matter.
Some of the best experiences I've had with groups have been where it has been in an unstructured way or some kind of dialogue or connection. At the same time, I feel a bit anxious about doing it in a group that doesn't necessarily work that way, like here. It might or might not work. We have 20 minutes where we're used to listening to lectures. I don't know if that can work, but even if it works just a little bit, that's probably worth it.
What I'm thinking at right now is how do you how do you keep this awareness going in everyday life? Because I feel that living here is like standing in a huge wave of not where the universe wants to take me, but in consumerism. So how do you stay aware and, you know, able to listen to what the universe is trying to tell you? Does anybody know?
Practice.
Yes, practice meditation.
Choose.
Choose.
I don't know.
It's difficult to let go, I experience, like to really kind of be not within myself just as a person, but also sense the spirit of the group and sense some kind of an emergence of something common like a field.
Also just notice how you feel. We're so busy thinking, planning, working, that we might not notice how does this experience feel. And it's often that which is the connection with others. Notice how other people feel and find some connection. That's not necessarily logic, but there's something there, and go further with that.
Just, can I add something to because one person said choose and another person said practice, and you say finding fields, and that makes me think, like, where do we find support systems to stay in this field? I mean, this could be a support system, it definitely is in this very moment, but what about tomorrow?
So I feel a little bit like taking part in the old joke with the religious man who's in trouble and keeps refusing help because God will help him. And then in the end, when everything fails, God tells him, I kept sending you help. What happened, man? Why aren't you doing anything? So, and the way that reflects on this is maybe the resting state is noise, right? The resting state is not nothing. The resting state is intense noise and change around us. And so surfing is doing. It's kind of just something I would like to throw out there. That we're actually, none of us, or most of us, don't live in a state where we can shut out the noise. Or if we're doing it, we're willfully doing it at great cost. Whereas you can kind of just live in the noise and try to survive with the noise and deal with the noise. And so acting is maybe surfing the noise wave that is around us all the time.
I don't know if this will help, but a friend of mine does transcendental meditation, and I've spent some hours and weekends with her discussing this kind of stuff. And the problem with our society, Western society, is that we tend to listen to everything around us and not to our inner compass, and we lose track of where our inner compass is heading, and you do stuff that is not aligned with that compass, and that will not make you happy and will make you think, well, why am I here, what am I doing in this world, etc., etc. So the basis, more or less, is try to find your inner compass and listen to that. And if you're aligned with that compass, then your energy is flowing right, things are going easier, you're not easily thrown off balance by trouble in your neighborhood, trouble in your family, or trouble in your friends, or trouble at work. So that's, and it's not easy. It requires a lot of effort to find that. But you have stuff like meditation or being conscious about what you eat, because if you use a lot of alcohol and caffeine, all stuff, your body is a complex chemical factory, basically. So if you put in all the bad stuff, then your chemicals will get off balance as well. In the old Roman days, the Senate and all more or less educated people in Roman society, they tend to do 1 month of, I don't know what is in English, a Vastenmaand, a month where you sit down in a very low-lit room with no furniture, nothing around you, with nothing but bread and water and the essentials to live on. And after that month, your body is cleansed and your mind is also cleansed, because you tend to focus on what's really the issue, what's really necessary and important to your life. So maybe a month of fasting every year.
Well, in all of this, I kind of come to think about something that I find quite fascinating. Have you ever heard about the plants are alive, or the plants have consciousness and awareness? Experiments has been happening with putting a lie detector sort of device on plants. And an experiment was done in a university in Russia, I think, where you send 10 people through a room and you've got 10 plants. One of the people that walks into the room kills a plant in there. You send the 10 people back through the room, and the plants on the so-called lie detector apparently reacts. The interesting thing is that I see, and being in this forum here, having dealt with sustainability and having been trying to fusion sustainability, nature, mindfulness, spirituality, and so on, into something that could become tomorrow's world, it's kind of strange to see all these things still being so separate when we really have to make things work together. And if we could start to understand, which we actually can with technology, and in this case these experiments happened 20, 30 years ago, would it be possible that we could start to understand that everything is alive? And it is not only us that have to sit down and eat bread and take water in, but that we actually have to communicate with every single molecule that's on this planet and in this universe. And could we use technology for doing that? Could we try to start to get to answer your question down there? Is how do we get in resonance? How do we get into responding to what the rest of the world is? That is not always us. And it's not always us that have to sit down and think and meditate, etc., but we actually have to get in balance with the rest of the system and respect it. So I don't know if this sort of makes any sense. But the experiments have happened, and there are people who believe, and they have proven, that plants have a consciousness. They can calculate, they can do all sorts of strange things that we can as well.
All right. You were asking about support network. I think actually support networks are dangerous when you're actually trying to let go of rules. They're helpful once you've let go of rules and made a decision to change it. But it might have to be a new support network and not your existing support network. I think a lot of the rules that we put on us are based on our existing support networks. So, no.
The last one. Just very quick, there was a neurologist at TED that talked about having a brain stroke. I don't know if some of you have seen that. Jill, whatever. She experienced a brain stroke and half of her brain shut down. The part that was responsible for planning, for knowing about the past and the future, and the only thing that was left was the part of the brain that was there for the moment. And one of the things she said, it's a very touching talk, one of the things she said, she was in the bathroom, she was touching the wall and she could feel her molecules blend with the molecules of the wall. So maybe we have that capability already in there, we just need to find it.
Can I just point out an interesting video on YouTube that I saw Alan Watts quote. I saw an Alan Watts quote that you had up there, and along the lines of, I think, some of what we've been discussing, there's a really neat video called Music and Life by Alan Watts, and just look at it on YouTube, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Music and Life.
Music and Life.
Alan Watts.
Now we're just starting having a good time. It's a shame that the session is over, but remember that and think about how in other parts of your life you can create a space where there are no rules, but where things can emerge, where we can allow ourselves to be quiet and connect with something maybe deeper, maybe something new. It's not necessarily complicated. We're really just doing too much. We're too busy doing. It's as simple as shutting up for a few minutes and noticing what you feel. Anyway, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Flemming.